going to be the Celeste ban, like always, coming through from Bren Esports.
Let's see if hype can go as high as it needs to for this third game. And we're seeing an Idris ban, so no weapon petal priority as of yet. Hasn't been first picked by Bren Esports. They picked it in both games near the end of the draft. And I'd be very surprised if Grace and Lance aren't picked up as the two captains. I suppose Infamous might try and go straight for the Celeste, so Celeste go straight for the Scarf and then ban themselves Blackfeather. That would be a really smart draft from Infamous. They know the first two games, Bren second ban Scarf. So the smart pick for Infamous here, pick Scarf, ban Blackfeather, and then you just pick up your captain next. You're not going to get Lance, but maybe you're going to get Arden or Catherine or Lyra, and they'll still work very well, and there were no majors left for Bren Esports to take. They're going to let the Scarf be banned away from them.
Well, I believe Infamous, if I'm not mistaken, have picked up Lance every match so far.
Yeah, I think they did. I'm not 100% sure, but I think they just love playing their Lance. It's clearly very, very important pick for them.
Well, I am a bit worried on the side of Bren Esports, as we said, that it's hard for them to play the aggressors against Infamous, who are just such a good team at being the aggressors. Every time we always see them taking the first turrets, putting down so much pressure on lane. So it is a very hard team to play against like that. And I believe that's where Grace fits into best when being played on in an aggressive playstyle. So I'm a bit worried about them returning to the Grace pickup. But how do you feel about this so far?
It's very interesting that Bren Esports have opted to change their draft strategy because the Sky was banned. They couldn't do their Sky Petrol again they decided to ban away Kestrel, so the Infamous couldn't do their Kestrel comp again. And obviously this leaves Scarf open, but with Infamous picking up Blackfeather, it would be quite difficult for Bren Esports to successfully pick a Scarf and use it. So I'd expect to see maybe a Glaive picked up to go in the lane. Perhaps they could go for Vox. Vox Fortress combo is still open. That's a very strong comp that hasn't had much play in SEA, but it definitely would work well together. And I think Bren Esports just want to pick comfort picks, want to get a reasonably strong composition that isn't countered by Blackfeather. So Scarf would be really hard to play against this Blackfeather. And Lance, they're going to risk it. They're going to go for that late game powerhouse. There aren't any late game carries left. Celeste, Kestrel, Idris, Scarf, Sky, all picked or banned. So they are the main late game carries that have just been taken away. And speaking of late game carries, they've gone Baron. So this is the latest possible game from Bren Esports. They're just going to try and stall for as long as possible. I think Infamous should pick up Koshka here. Go all out on your early game. Go Black for the lane, Koshka jungle. Just go for a snowball comp. There's no point trying to get anything late game against them. You're not going to win.
You really believe that here? I mean, is a very good late game comp coming out from the side of Bren Esports. And as long as Grace can keep Scarf alive and peel for him with a Holy Nova and you can save the Divine Intervention for those kind of situations, I think they can win. Or we might see it go differently, and Grace, we could see them try be that aggressive team comp. They have the Baron there with the jump jets to go in, and as long as Scarf's on the backline and not being focused, then that also works out for Scarf if no damage is going down. But there's a hero that can get onto the backline. They pick up the Taka, who we actually saw being banned, I believe, in the previous match.
Yes, it was. Infamous actually banned Taka themselves.
Infamous. So yeah, they've gone and picked it up. They know it can get onto those backline heroes, those mages that like to sit back there. And do you think is this enough for the early game, however?
Well, it's not an early game comp from Infamous. They've gone for Blackfeather. They've gone for an assassin comp. They've gone to just dive in, and no matter how far Baron jumps away, just keep diving. I'd expect them to probably run halfway across the map to try and kill Baron, because he's going to jump jets away, war treads, boots, wait for his next jump jets, and they're just going to keep running and just like head first straight in, try and kill someone. It's risky. At level 6, it will be extremely strong, and I think Infamous, if they take a fight at level 6, will win it pretty comfortably with X-Retsu. As long as Taka doesn't go Stormcrown first, I think that's not a smart pick for this Taka. Maybe Stormguard Banner into Aftershock Broken Myth, but Taka has to get crystal power, has to get damage, not just farm clear and true damage, because Baron and Scarf aren't going to build early game defense. So you can build weapon power or crystal power, most likely crystal power on this Taka, maybe a Shatterglass first. And then Baron's going to die very quickly, so will Scarf. And at level 6, it should be Infamous's game. The later on it goes, the more in favour of Bren Esports it will be. But then again, who knows what's going to happen late game? Maybe we're going to see a backdoor with Blackfeather and Taka, and something's going to happen late game. We really cannot tell.
Yeah, we cannot tell, especially with these two teams, how they've been playing. And I think it really all just comes down to this third match between them. And imagine this, if Bren Esports get in, we're not going to see the classic infamous Impunity finals. And if Bren somehow managed to beat Infamous, that's already taking down one of the top teams. And then if they go on to take down Impunity, well, then that is saying something else. But we are here in the final match, the third round, the final match between Infamous and Bren Esports, the third match for them. And whichever team is going to go on to the finals there, and the other one going to go into the third place match up against Nebulae. So we'll have to see the teams just getting ready right now. I'm not sure if we're going to get a roster change or not.
Maybe that might be one of the reasons why. We're just waiting for some players to get ready. I would need a bit of time to get ready after this game. But as Iroquestial said, this is it. Whoever wins this game goes through to the final. And as you said, it would be fantastic to see the underdog, to see a team like Bren Esports work their way from 0 points into the final of the next week. That would be such a comeback story for them. And I think if Bren Esports manage to win this game, they'll feel on top of the world going up against Impunity, and it will be a real tough team to play up against. And if Infamous win, they'll feel very relieved because they definitely haven't been sweeping through the opposition as they maybe have hoped, and make it an easy way to get to their classic Impunity v Infamous final.
Yep, so we will have to see as the players now loading into the fold. And oh my, is there any bets you have for this one on which team you think is going to take it? Maybe based on, what we've seen between the teams so far, or just overall team comp?
I think I'm going to have to put my money on Bren Esports, because in both games, the late game team fights, they were doing fantastically well in. And I'm not sure if Infamous can snowball the early game that well, because we've just seen the games go very late on. We've seen multiple Krakens in both games. And so I think Bren Esports are going to be very comfortable in what they're doing. Done it before, they can do it again. And it's down to Infamous to change. Infamous have to do something different, or else it's going to be Bren Esports' game. And so that's where I think it's going to be tougher for Infamous. But then again, if they manage to pull off their early game aggression, it will be reasonably easy for them.
Yeah, I'm going to have to wait. Okay, it really is tough. I want to say I'm going to have to wait and see how Infamous play.
You can't place a bet at the end of the game. You got to start now.
I really, that's how I match up, because it could go either way. And oh my, I'm going to have to go with my gut feeling of just cheering for the underdogs as well and say, Bren Esports, I hope they can pull this through. But Infamous are going to be like a boss battle like no other. I mean, they're a top team, and they're going to have to pull everything through here to really show why they are a top team and hopefully secure themselves the win. So best of luck to both teams in this third match. And yeah, good luck, have fun.
Yep, starting off defensive, I didn't expect anything different from either side. Obviously, Bren Esports not going to go aggressive because they don't want to give money some free early game aggression. But similarly, Infamous don't need to go at level 1 trying to start the snowball. It's really level 6 when Taka can invade against Scarf, can come up to lane to try and gank. And Guessing X needs to be on point with vision. There were some points with in previous games where members of Bren Esports would face check bushes without vision. Maybe they'd skip a flare or two. Guessing X needs to be much more disciplined with vision in this game, because if Taka manages to get on top of Mr. Jim, he'll be in a lot of trouble.
Yep, and we see some early game aggression going down. K being forced away from Chingy, who's just going to use Kaku to get around, manage slam some damage onto Cincy 1, but not able to find the kill. Might be in a bit of a bad position now. Is going to have Kaku up in another 4 seconds, but is he going to be able to stay alive that long? There's going to be the goop, but it's not enough to take him out. Kaku will be used, and he might be able to find the kill on Cincy 1. He does so much damage coming out between the two of them there. SNK and Chingy just going into the backline. They get caught up by the Holy Nova, and Chingy just diving over everything is gonna get punished by Mr. Jim. But meanwhile, Spaghetti's being left up in lane, all on his lonesome, free to farm. Sitting at 25 CS, gonna pick up that next one. Yeah, it's 27 there, and actually stealing away some jungle from the side of Bren. So Infamous once again playing a fairly good. I will see, and my expectations for them is that they're going to be able to get the first turret in this match and play that good aggressive early game. But you're so right when you say it matters so much in the late game. Those fights that just turn her around, and we've seen it too much before between the two of these teams.
Yeah, I think that was nice, well played from Shingy. It looks like Shingy crown first. Don't really like that, but Shingy's decision wants to go for that farm clear, wants to probably steal away jungle camps from Cincy 1 as opposed to just going for pure team fight damage. And Mr. Jim rotated really well to try to stop Taka getting too much away from his scarf. But in doing so, he obviously lost the 500 gold. They are now 500 gold behind, but they would have been a lot more behind if Taka had killed Scarf, got the entire jungle rotation. So by Mr. Jim rotating down, he lost some CS. He's now one behind. Spaghetti going to be a bit more behind after this wave. But importantly, Scarf isn't massively behind Taka, and because if Taka got the entire jungle and killed Scarf, then Scarf would have no chance of being able to farm up his own jungle now. Taka would just be invading constantly, and so Mr. Jim doing the team play, meaning that he'll be taking slightly longer to scale up, but the team as a whole are much more likely to not be just completely destroyed early on.
Yep, and oh, look at this. It's actually going to be Bren Esports with a fair bit of aggression up there in the lane. They're pushing it right up, but the whole team of Infamous going to be coming in with the rotation. You can see Spaghetti and SNK game there early and gain a bit of damage down on Cincy 1, who looks like they're going to be targeting. And yeah, because I'd say that is definitely the best target, and well played by Chingy to always be jumping onto Cincy 1 in these situations, because Mr. Jim will just be able to jump jets out there. Even if in the later game they'll be going for the chase, but look at that. Mr. Jim gets the kill onto Lance for punish and jumps away from Chingy back to safety. So right now, being well played by both teams once again, but Mr. Jim tried going down to the jungle, is going to be able to jump jets and gets out of there. The bleed not going to be enough at this point because Chingy didn't go for the damage to start with, and guessing so low manages to escape as well. Cincy 1 probably has to go up here to defend turret, but Chingy just gonna go in and manage to pick up the kill in return. These teams just a lot more of an aggressive game that we saw previously. 2-2 already, and a turret 5 minutes 40 in, going over to the side of Infamous.
Yeah, Guessing X was so low, but then a bit greedy with the backport. Chingy able to X-Retsu through and pick up that kill. I think Guessing X could have easily up to the top bush and been able to port home safely. Bren Esports, yeah, they were a bit aggressive. They tried to push the wave, thinking Infamous were taking backs together, but in the end, Infamous rotated up and managed to punish them for trying to be too aggressive and get a bit too far ahead. Spaghetti is now level 6, and Chingy obviously was in that last team fight, but lots of damage. Spaghetti going to be able to get away from that ion cannon, and Bren Esports going aggressive.
Yep, and we see here Mr. Jim going low. He on the backline. There's the fountain, but he's putting out the damage as well. Just going to stand in the Porcupine Mortar. It looks like Chingy might be able to escape there with the Kaku. And no, I thought they might get caught up in the Triant roots, but it looks like Chingy going to be able to escape with barely any health. Uses a Kaku to get a bit more back, looking to see if they could secure any kills. Chingy definitely playing this one greedily, but I think that's how he should be playing, especially going up against Bren and wanting to take all the chances you can in the early game to get those kills.
Yep, up to a 1k gold lead now for Infamous. That's good. They need to keep this gold lead going, because otherwise, Mr. Jim, you saw in that fight, he was dealing massive damage, and it's just going to get more and more as he picks up Tyrants, crit, maybe a Tornado Trigger or two, and it's really going to be tough for Spaghetti to be able to stick on top of him, even with the Serpent's Mask. What do you think about Mr. Jim picking up a Serpent's Mask himself, maybe later on in the game?
I do think that would work out pretty well for him, especially you're going to be getting dived on by the likes of Black Feather and Taka, that it really could work out for them because they're able to heal a bit. The only problem there is Chingy on that Taco will be able to, I believe, cut your healing in half. I'm not quite sure what the percentage is, but I know that...
Third.
Third. So it won't be as good if Taco's jumping onto you, but it would work out when fighting up against Spaghetti. But it could also be good to just go straight in with the burst damage, especially if you've got guessing who's going to jump in there, and if they're able to land the Holy Nova, then it's just such an easy shot.
Yeah, definitely. I think Mr. Jim he doesn't really worry about what he builds as long as he just builds weapon power. He's bought a block that's probably for SNK's Impale, because Guessing X is going for Atlas, it appears, as second item. So Mr. Jim needs to block by himself the Impale, or maybe even the Mortal Wound and Bleed from Taka. If you block X, so it actually does an awful lot for your health, because you don't get the Mortal Wound, it means healing is as effective for Grace, and you don't get the Bleed. So it's quite reasonably hard to do. If you don't have vision on Taco, it's almost impossible. But it is a very important skill to have. And we're seeing a Tension Bow instead, so a bit of an old school Baron build. He's going for Soul Blade into Tension Bow, and Guessing X wants to try and steal this gold mine away. He's going to get pushed away, but no, Blackfeather gets it.
No, gonna Holy Nova just back out of there, act like nothing happened. I mean, he tried. You may as well try, otherwise you'll never know. And I think that is definitely the moral of the story for Bren Esports with that first match. And they even came so close in the second, but we'll have to see how they play here. And now everyone just jumps onto Mr. Jim. There's going to be the Ion Cannon coming, but he's not even able to stay alive long enough. There's the Divine Intervention used, but it didn't intervene with anything. As right now, Infamous just slaughtering the whole team of Bren Esports, getting the ace, and they're probably looking through to push on to the next turret here, maybe even pick up the Crystal Sentry, and that should help more than enough push their gold lead ahead even more than it already is. We see Bren Esports back at 19k, and after this turret, I believe the side of Infamous should be seeing around 24k.
Yeah, it depends, maybe they might not be able to get this turret actually. Baron is jump jetting loads of damage. Will they be able to get it? Yes, they will, but will they give up their lives?
Yep. Oh, there's the 24k damage gold they were looking for. Not damage, not quite yet, but Bren Esports going to be able to push Infamous away. However, they did lose their second turret already 10 minutes in, so this is looking good for Infamous if they want to shut this game out earlier and not let it go on so long into the late game. If they can continue to put the pressure on lane now and take down more turrets every few minutes into the game, by the time Kraken is up, they're going to have probably just be able to push it in with one try, and should be enough for them. But we can't count Bren Esports out yet. We saw in the previous game, I believe they got it down until that crystal was exposed, and they still managed to almost turn it around.
Yeah, certainly. I think that that Taco is doing really well. Shingy has got no defense on Baron, which is so risky, but using the chitin effectively, you can dodge his double shot and you can dodge most of the damage. I think Mr. Jim really needs to kite back a lot more. At the moment, he's just standing still and trying to straight up 1v1 Spaghetti in or more 1v2, because SNK is always helping out, and so is Shingy, but he needs to back off. He needs to try and kite the Taka and the Blackbird, as opposed to just letting them use all their damage and basic attack him. He wants them to be trying to use their ult charges to chase him, and then Baron will be in a much better position. He can pick up his first Tyrant's Monocle now, which is a really good damage item power spike, and if they focus Shingy down successfully, maybe get one stun, or force him to kite in the stun and he can't kite in the damage, then Mr. Jim will really be able to deal considerable damage. And he's not going to build an Aegis, he's just getting the block, not building any Crystal Power defense, maybe to try and help against Taka. And so it's bold from Mr. Jim, but it might work out.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. They really did allow that the side. They're slowly allowing Bren Esports to get more and more built up here. You can see that Infamous have started to kind of back off on their aggression for now, but I think in the next shot we might even see some infusions being picked up on the side. There's the weapon power, and there's the CP infusion coming out from Spaghetti and Chingy likewise. So they
Bren Esports are going to counter with their own
fight here.
Bren Esports are going to counter with their own infusions. No, 500 gold on both members. No power. Like, that's risky. Lucky Strike isn't a very gold efficient item to pick up, and so now Mr. Jim has not got an infusion. This is, as you said, a good time for Infamous to fight. They're pushing onto the tier 3 turret now. What are Bren Esports going to do? They should port home now or try. They're going to try and do the rotation. That was risky. If all 3 members of Infamous were waiting in the bush, Scarf would have most likely been dead. But it is safe. They managed to clear the wave. Mr. Jim's being hyper farmed because Sync 1's only on 29 CS. Problem is, Mr. Jim's having a tough time in the lane, so Spaghetti is even on CS. He's with 30 minutes in, Spaghetti 139, farming really well. And Mr. Jim has been taking backs away from Cincy 1, so it's really Taco is easily out damaging Scarf, and then Blackfeather's almost keeping up with Baron, despite the fact Baron's getting jungle farm.
Yeah, that is definitely quite dangerous in this situation here. I mean, once we get to late game, it might start to balance out, but the problem is now moving into this mid game. If Scarf is able to keep up with the damage needed, they only have 2 attack items here with the Frostburn and the Eve, and we just see that the gold mine going over to the side of Infamous to push their gold lead even further, now seeing at 32.7 over to 26.6k of Bren Esports right now. So we've seen from the start in the first round between these 2 teams, Spaghetti was just doing great at farming, and we see it again, as you mentioned, that he's able to keep up with Mr. Jim, who's been taking backs as well. And meanwhile, the one who's really just suffering the most is definitely Cincy 1 on that Scarf. But we're going to see a possible engage come out from the side of Infamous. SNK taking a lot of damage there, not going to use the fountain, just using the potion for now. And it looks like Bren need to have some kind of vision out to catch Chingy, otherwise he's going to be able to move around onto that back line. They're staying close to that turret, which is a smart move right now. Don't want to go too far away from safety, and you can see Scarf able to back out of that one. But now Infamous just going to go and take that Crystal Sentry
That's
away.
eliminated now. Yeah, that's the 3rd life for the Crystal Sentry gone. So Bren Esports are going to have to now be scared of taking their own jungle together. Really smart move from Infamous to decide to deny the Crystal Sentry away from Bren Esports. I really think that it's going to be tough for Bren Esports. They have to just camp around their tier 3 turret until Kraken spawns. Once Kraken spawns, they have to burst down Shingy in the team fight. Shingy's gone no defense on Baron. He's got full metal jacket and Aegis, and so Shingy just needs to be the focus. If they don't focus Taka, got a lot of damage, Aftershock, Broken Myth, and Storm Crown, then they're going to die in this fight.
Yeah, man, it looks like they're going to jump onto Mr. Jim. There's going to be the Ion all over, and they're just committing everything right here. But the Jim able to get over the wall, and Scarf able to turn around, pick up the kill. Looks like Chingy not able to find Mr. Jim on that backline. There's no divine intervention, however, to keep him alive. So if Chingy decides to Kaku and run over to Mr. Jim, but I don't know if he knows he's there. There's a fair bit of vision on the side of Infamous in that tri-bush up there, and they might have seen or just be able to tell that Bren are looking for Kraken right now. There's still SNK and Chingy up on the fold. Chingy in that Kaku could be able to go for the steal, but he's going to get spotted out by that vision. Will he be able to get it anyway? And Lance is going to be the one to take back. The damage that was coming out from Bren Esports, it just wasn't expected, but he manages to do it anyway. There's going to be the divine intervention onto Mr. Jim. And can they do the 2v1? Are they going to get anything out there? Chingy is going to get punished, but he manages to take down Mr. Jim. That should be enough damage taken away from the side of Bren Esports to at least let Kraken push through in this situation. But Spaghetti jumping around onto Cincy 1, guessing needs to land the Holy Nova, but he doesn't manage to, and Cincy 1's going to fall. Guessing is going to go next. There's going to be the ace from Infamous. They're moving on to the anchor turret. Kraken with enough health to push through here. Turret doing something that I'm not sure of, but oh well. Kraken going to push through, taking a little less damage than it should have, and they might be able to finish the game out. Cincy 1 up in 10 seconds, guessing up in another 10 from now. And do you think Infamous can finish this one?
I think they can. Mr. Jim's got to make some plays to stop it, but they're going to back off most likely. Spaghetti's going to be able to kill Baron here. His divine intervention.
Ooh, and there was the fountain used on the side of Infamous, but they're going to get punished for it. Infamous tried to commit there, and they should be able to get the double. SNK trying to escape. They managed to do so, but Kraken might be allowed to push through on one more turret because of that team fight. That could just be worth. I mean, that was the first Kraken of the match, I believe, and they just took down 3 turrets with that. And they got the ace, I think, which attributed massively to the side of Infamous being able to push through there. But I think Infamous still in a very good position. All 5 turrets still left up. And yeah, I mean, they don't have too much to lose at this point. 17 minutes 30 in.
Yeah, that is true. I think Blackfeather going for the kill onto Baron was mainly just as a distraction instead. And there is a lot of vision from Bren Esports. They will be most likely, there's almost nowhere Taka can sneak through to be able to backdoor. You'd have to be very clever with where he walks to make sure they cannot see him trying this backdoor. Or Blackfeather and Taka, they're both going to look like they could go for it, but realistically, they'll be expecting vision, and SNK is just there to pop it. I think that what Bren Esports should have done is when Taka tried to steal the Kraken, just fight him right now. Fight Taka. He doesn't know you're there. That is great damage from Bren Esports onto Xingyi, because that scout trap was just so big because Taka didn't know. Well, he knew he was visible, but wasn't be able to get away. And and as soon as the enemy tries to steal Kraken from you, you should, if you're 2v3, if you're 3v2, you should fight them immediately. Taka easily going to get on the backline.
Yeah, Taka gonna jump onto that backline there, onto Scarf. Divine Intervention is used, and Ion Cannon, and they're going up to pick up the kills onto Baron and Scarf simultaneously. Spaghetti going solo in this situation, but it's only Grace left alive. And guessing just gonna run under the enemy turret and get taken down. There's gonna be the ace. There's no way out for Bren Esports after that. And Infamous going to push through, finishing out the 3rd match. And wow, what a game by Infamous. As I said, and as we said, I should say, that Infamous really had to not let it go to the late game, because that's where Bren might have had the chance to push this one back. But Infamous playing it in Infamous fashion with the aggression they needed and taking those turrets down one after another, not losing a single one themselves. GG, well played.
Yeah, well played by Infamous. In the end, it didn't feel like Bren were ever going to win that game. Just with great early game aggression, great mid-game aggression, and in the late game team fights, they just focused down so well. I think Baron could have tried